This week, I'm doing something I've always been a bit scared of, and that is weekly vlogging. Have we reached the apex of ridiculous fears? I think so. But I always try and make on this channel, not always what I think will do well or get views, but what I enjoy watching. And what I enjoy watching changes a lot. I've been watching and making YouTube videos for about 15 years. And recently I've been really enjoying watching other people vlog. And it's something that I don't know if I'm going to be very good at, but I'm turning 35 this year and I'll be damned if I stop doing new things. My God, we're not getting into a rut. I may be growing Sheryl Sandberg levels of corporate bob right now, which we'll sort out tomorrow, but I refuse to be like a middle-aged person who never tries anything new. And it's 5 years till middle age. So let's get training those devil-may-care muscles. So this morning I woke at half six, which is quite normal for me. I do try and sleep in. I know people who actually have to get up at certain times, you're gonna hate me for this. And I would hate me for this. I used to get up at like 6:30 just to get to work. And now I get up at 6:30 because my intuitive body makes me. But I do set my alarm for 8 because I want to get more sleep. But some mornings my body is just like, what if you trained to be a landscape gardener? What if you started a new channel? What if you learned to crochet? What if you took a trip to a farming community to study sheep and made a video about it? So anyway, the thoughts wouldn't stop coming, so I got up and I'm feeling very sprightly considering I had a nice breakfast of what I'm calling my half-ass vegan eaten mess, which is loads of Alpro soy yogurt, some blueberries, some strawberries, and then the half-ass part is a mini meringue that I crumble on top. Read a little bit of my book, not gonna lie, after I read that book for a little while for the clip, I did scroll for a little while as well. Let's inject some reality here. But now, because I've got all this time before I need to start work, I thought I would work on one of my projects, one of my many projects. I am making a Jane Austen style dress, the Daphne dress, which you might have seen me make before on this channel. I'm kind of addicted to making that pattern, which is another video entirely. But I'm making it in this amazing, they call it wham, like wham bars, linen fabric from Merchant and Mills. And I was very frustrated last night because I got too tired to finish it and I was so close. So I'm going to do some gathering on the floor and maybe while listening to a podcast. So this is the dress so far. However, the plan is to make it longer, specifically this much longer, with an extra frill. But I do actually have a job to do, so I should probably stop doing this, brush my teeth, and get on with some work. Okay, I was listening to Material Girls, my favourite podcast, while I was doing my makeup, and now I know this horrifying information. I need you to too. The Notebook, which is written by Nicholas Sparks. Turns out Nicholas Sparks, massive homophobe, like genuine bad person in every way. But also they pointed out that isn't The Notebook just The Great Gatsby with a happy ending? And the happy ending is only there because Noah buys a plantation and renovates it, which is also pretty dark. Time to do some emails. I'm having one of those mornings where my to-do list is literally burning my eyes and I'm kind of freezing. I'm just sitting there at my computer like, so I'm gonna make some tea and a snack and it'll be fine. Fine.
Thank you for giving me this tea midway through my task. Can we talk about how you're like, you know, like loves a busy man. She'll only like give me a fuss when I'm right in the middle of a task. Like I'm mid-wash up and it's like, time for a cuddle, and I'll just go, I like a busy man.
Why would I interact with you when you've got nothing to do? postman has just been. Ooh.
Does this count for your no buy?
No bags don't count.
You know what we needed?
Another bag.
Thank God.
But this one's, oh my god, it's going to be so good for shopping. It's huge and really sturdy.
All the other tote bags in the cupboard crying their eyes out right now. Goes with your outfit.
It goes with all my outfits. This bag that I got from Outhouse Unlimited. They're a really great charity who I've talked about on the channel before, and this is made out of recycled polyester. Now, Craig, would you like to come and see what we've got?
Am I allowed?
You are allowed.
I was banished to the staircase.
There was a continuity error with you
Sure.
coming in. Can you hold that handle, please?
Yes, dear.
Discos.
Oh, thank you very much.
You can have those. A pepper.
Ooh. Is it my birthday?
Some meat-free sausages. Some more fruit.
Running out of space, Gabby.
Trying to make entertainment, but I don't think it's going to work.
You're naturally entertaining.
It has been a weirdly tiring day. I think I don't find the days tiring when I'm doing like one big task so much, but when I've got like for instance, I did 18 things on my admin to-do list thing today. None of them were particularly like strenuous, but I just did a lot of them back to back, and I think that tires my brain out way more than one big one. I don't know if anybody else is like that or if people's brains work differently, but that's definitely how my one works. So I'm really pooped, so is Craig. Craig batch cooked a big spag bowl this evening, and I premiered my new video because it's a Monday. And then Craig's watching Squid Game upstairs. But I'm scared of violence. So I'm sitting down here and watching When Harry Met Sally. Much more civilised. And I'm eating one of these, which is called the Noom Choc Fudge plant-powered little rabbit thing. And it's what some people would call an oxymoron, but I'm delighted to see that it exists in the world. Good vegan chocolate. Which some people would think is an oxymoron, but occasionally it comes true. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna watch two people who think they hate each other fall in love. Good morning. This morning I got up at 7:15 because on Tuesdays I always have a scheduled call with one of my oldest and best friends in the world. Guten Morgen. Who is a very busy mum who also works in mental health, and then I'm sometimes / a lot of the time out in the evenings. So one of the only times that we can really have a call is on Tuesdays when she drops her kid off at childcare and then walks to work. So between about 7:30 and 8, we always catch up. So I get up for that. Had my Eton mess breakfast and a nice coffee, and now I'm going to skive a little bit and go and get a haircut. So I should probably hop on the bus. But first I should wash my face. And Sean at the hairdressers, but I've just remembered, I'm not gonna lie, I'm lying, I haven't just remembered, I've been thinking about it all week. The new Gregory Maguire book has come out today, so I am going stat to Waterstones to see if we can track that down, and then I'm going to take you on a trip to one of my favourite places. Let's go. Right, I've secured the book. I went to Savvy's, which is mine and Craig's favourite sandwich shop in the Midlands. If you're ever in Leamington Spa, highly recommend. Wait, there's this window. Brilliant. That's the Irish bar. Anyway, last stop deserves some explanation. If you have ever bought a Positive Panic patch from me, it's my little side project, my little small business. Oh, new vegan bakery. Where's this? Where's this? Well, we don't have time right now, but that is very exciting. If you've ever bought a positive panty patch from me, which are, it's like my little side business, recycled patches, climate dares inspired by scouting badges, you will have got an envelope with a return address on it. No, that is not my home address. I actually had a bit of a struggle getting a PO box that I could use because in the UK, if you want to register a Royal Mail address, they allocate you a post office that's like right next to your house. And we'll talk a little bit more about privacy later in the vlog, I think, but that would be an issue. Or you can have a PO box that's registered near your business address. Apart from my business address is like 90 minutes away on a train. So I was in a bit of a pickle, and then I realized that there's this zero waste shop, and the woman who runs it is absolutely brilliant in this town, Leamington Spa, which I come to regularly. I offered her the same money I would have paid Royal Mail to have a little PO box in her zero waste shop, which means that I get to give money to a local business that I really like, and I also get my privacy, and she collects the patches for me. So I've got a text from her recently telling me that we've had a few returns. Sometimes customs don't let the patches through, so I have to go and collect the patches and then tell the customers and try and get it to them again, or people put the wrong address on there. Anyway, I'm gonna go and collect the returns and also get a refill, hopefully, of my favorite zero waste coffee, which is called Classic Book Nerd Monte Cristo, and they grind it for you in the shop. So hopefully I can get some shots of that as well. But I'm excited to introduce you to Zero. They've also got a shop in Stratford upon Avon, and they're selling positive panic patches out on the floor now as well. So that's really cool to see my creations on the shop floor. Well.
Oh, hey.
Hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Just come to pick. Oh my God, do you want some help?
No, I'm all good.
That is a very impressive order.
Oh, it's got to be done.
Whenever I come into the shop, Charlie always gives me a showdown of what she's got on Vinted. So can we see the trainers, please,
Yes.
Charlie? Oh my God, incredible.
Fiver.
The leopard print, £5, bargain.
So comfy, belly
Living the
warm.
dream.
Yeah.
I've come for my
Vinted.
fix of the Monte Cristo coffee. Can you sort me
let's
out?
do
Let's do it. Everything on the to-do list sorted, tick, and now Craig is coming to collect me because we need to get back stat because we've got some men coming to clear our gutters. Adult life. Not so shabby on the returns today. We just got one from France and one from Canada, which just says incomplete address. Which doesn't really give us much to go on, does it? I feel like international postal services like to play hard to get. They like to keep me guessing. Like, why didn't you give this to my customer? Who can say? The waters weren't right, the winds changed. We didn't feel like it. We didn't think they deserved it. Who knows? When we get returns like that, we usually just offer people a refund or offer to resend it. And if we think it's our fault that we didn't get it to them because like we put the wrong address on or we didn't fill out the customs form properly, then we'll pay for the postage. And if it was them and they got their own address wrong or they moved and they didn't tell us, then we ask them nicely to pay, to contribute towards the postage at least. But yeah, small business problems. So I've just been hard at work at my desk, but I wanted to show you what's happening in the epicenter of Lena Norms. Craig, what are you working on?
She's up to no good. Do you want to see the full body one?
Is this what you pictured you'd be doing when you were doing your degree at university?
100%, absolutely. It's a full body one.
Oh my God.
Although I don't think you're that tall in real life.
It looks like I'm sitting on the shoulders of a small child.
Yeah. Let us in.
Looks like I'm sitting on your shoulders.
We just mashed all these things up together. Where's the...
Who needs AI when you've got Craig Simmons?
There you go.
A true masterpiece.
This is where we're at the moment. We just got to find a background of the conference that you were at.
I think we've all worked very hard today, and therefore I think it's time for a reward, including the free bookmark that the lady gave me. That's cool. Please bring me a tea, Craig. Oh, thank you, Craig.
We did not recreate this scene for the vlog.
Morning! So I burnt the midnight oil last night, almost finishing my dress, and I thought I still had a way to go because I hadn't hemmed it. And then I realised that I have used the selvage edge for the bottom of my frill of this dress by accident, which means I actually don't need to finish it. So I was finished way faster than I thought I would. So this morning I just repaired, I already had to repair the dress because there was, I don't know why, but one of my seams came undone under the armpit. So I repaired that this morning by hand with my morning coffee. And then I did the most satisfying thing, which was sew in my little label. This is possibly one of the best gifts I've ever received, was like a pack of these from my friend Sana. And now I think I was like, oh, where am I going to wear this? It's going to be ages until I get to wear it. And then I was like, hang on a second. Am I not 34 years old? I'm allowed to wear it whenever I want. So I am going to iron this dress and wear it today while I do my silly little emails and script my silly little videos. Because who's to stop me? Not you. It's too late now. This is in the past. You can't even reach to the screen and stop me. It's already happened. I hope you're ready for your life to be changed because wow, have I got something to show you. This is the dress that I made with my bare hands. Can we just look at these pockets? I specifically made a new pocket pattern outline so that they would be extra massive. It's actually the 4th time I've made this pattern, and every single time I have really struggled to get the elastic on the back to make sure it's adjustable so I can wear it in lots of sizes. I've really struggled to get the elastic right. And I finally fucking cracked it. And I'm so smug. I will leave the fabric that I've used and the pattern in the description below if you are a sewist and you're interested. But all you need to know for now is that I am going to be frolicking while doing my emails all day. In fact, what I'm going to do now, because I'm feeling so refreshed, before I probably start my work day, I am going to do a little office refresh because my office is like superficially quite messy to the untrained eye, but the trained eye, i.e. my eye, knows that actually it's all quite like surface level and it wouldn't take long to tidy up. So what I'm going to do is give myself 10 minutes, in fact, even better, I am going to play All Too Well, the 10-minute version, and that is all the time I'm going to allocate to tidying, and I'm going to see how far I get. So let's do that. Looking like a freaking Selkie advert. Oh. I hear the pitter-patter of tiny feet.
Everyone's going to judge the food that we've made. Listen. I have a very bad stomach, so we're eating very bland foods at the moment.
Simple but effective. Rice, cucumber, spinach. Thanks, Greg. This is going to do nothing for our international reputation about how British food is bland. So I've done some writing, I've replied to some emails, I've done some spreadsheet stuff, and now I've just sat here and recorded a video, which I would have shown you, but I was using the camera to record the video, so I record the video. But anyway, I just filmed an update to my year of make do, which was very fun. And now I've covered the conservatory with loads of random bits of fabric that I need to go and clean up. And then I'm gonna go and suggest to Craig that we go on a quick little walk because we are not prisoners and it is bad to not get outdoors, especially when you work from home. So I'm gonna suggest him that we do that for a little bit, and then I'll come back and do some more work. Oh yeah, also tomorrow I am going to visit my friend's secondary school, one of my best friends in the whole world that I grew up with, and we went to secondary school together. He is now the head teacher of a school. How has that happened? How old am I? And I am going to see him to go to a theatre show with him, and he suggested that I come into his school anyway while I'm up there, and I run a little workshop for some of the teenagers. So I'm going to do that and we'll see how it goes. Teenagers scare me, but this is a week of facing your fears, is it not? So me and Craig had a lovely little mental health walk. I got a little coffee, a little treat. We went to the bookshop and Craig got some Redwall books, which we had to get specially ordered because they're out of print. but our local bookshop can order them like print on demand. So we've been waiting about 6 weeks for that to happen. Very excited for him. And I picked up my Vinted parcel, so I thought I would unbox it with you. This is about 4 meters of fabric that I got for the cheap price of £12. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. For the context for the non-sewers among you, usually about 1 metre would be like minimum £10, and that would be like very poor quality fabric. So this, oh no, it's stretchy. Oh, I think that's okay. Oh no. Oh no, I've made an error. So when people start selling the stuff and they said it was 100% cotton, I don't think this is cotton. This isn't cotton. This isn't cotton. It's fine. I'm fine. Did they say that in the listing? God damn, they did not. Okay. What I thought this was going to be 4 meters of lovely flowery fabric that I would be able to make bunting for my friend Ariel's wedding. What we do have instead is 4 meters of incredibly stretchy, not bunting fabric. This is clothes making fabric. And I think my bluff has been called because, do you know what? I've been putting off learning how to sew with stretchy fabric for so long. It looks like all of my knickers are going to be made out of this for the next 10 years, maybe, because this is a whole lot of fabric. Oh no, everything's going wrong. So anyway, that was my Vinted haul. I hope you'll agree that at least the pattern of the fabric is great. Not exactly what I was expecting, but that's fine. But yeah, anyway, then I washed up while Craig made sausages and mash, the vegan Richmond sausages. My God. The problem is, I want to buy from a fully vegan company, but if you want to know, if you want somebody to make a good sausage, you really need to go to the people who have already making sausages for a long time. And Richmond, my God, they make a good sausage without killing anything. Brilliant. Anyway, we watched some of Adolescence with our dinner, which is a TV show that, like a British TV show that everybody's talking about at the moment. And we watched the first episode and it was absolutely freaking wonderful. It's obviously incredibly depressing, but it was really brilliantly done. And Craig's gone for a shower, but I'm hoping that when he comes out of the shower, I can persuade him to watch another episode because I'm in the mood to binge. Maybe because I still haven't done my lesson plan for tomorrow. Chaos. I've done some of it. I sat there and I did some work earlier and did some of it, but I probably should finish that before tomorrow, right? But really what I'd like to do is just sit on the sofa and eat marshmallows and watch Adolescence. So I don't really see why I can't have both. Let's do some more work now, shall we? And then see what happens. Good morning. I have arrived at Nottingham after a 2.5 hour and 3 train journey strong trip. If you don't know much about England, Nottingham is in the Midlands. Yes, I live in the Midlands. Why does it take me 3 trains and 2.5 hours to get there, even though they're so close on a map? Who can say? But we mustn't dwell on the negatives today. One of the positives of the morning is feeling grateful to 14-year-old me who really mastered the art of doing makeup on a moving vehicle. Wow. Am I grateful to her? Now, was that the most important thing I learned as a teenager? Maybe. Am I going to let that on during my talk today to teenagers? No, I'm going to lie to them and say it was English and communication and knowledge. But no, that was it. Good to know. Already a liar, and it's only 10 in the morning. Right, I am off to get a taxi to the school. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Let's see. Also, I was today years old when I learned that Attenborough is a place, not just a person.
Before I tell you... Sorry, that was a pheasant. Before I tell you all the shenanigans that went on yesterday, I wanted to show you something that I do when I stay at a friend's house. I've got this thing called Myom, which I bought with my own money, and it's like an instant oat milk sachet. So watch this. Pour it into a bottle like this. Looks kind of weird. And then you fill it up with water. And you shake it a lot. and you get oat milk, and you don't have to inconvenience anybody just because you stayed at their house for like a day to get them to get you oat milk. Just get it yourself. So this is for the train. It's going to be delicious. Maybe I'll have some cereal as well while I'm here. Cheeky.
So after the train ride home, I got back at 9:37 a.m, which I think is pretty swift, ready for a day of work. Yesterday was so fun. George often talks to me about his job as a head teacher, and I hear lots of stuff, but it was so cool to like see it in the real world. I really think we should have a bring your best friend to work day or something like that, or like shadow your best friend at work, because I think it just gives you a more full picture of like who they are as an adult right now and what they're experiencing. Anyway, George gave me a full tour of Wells Academy School. I did everything from popping in on RE lessons where they were talking about marriage, and there was like a kid who was asking like, are people from different religions allowed to get married? I think they were like in year 7 or something, and I was like, and obviously the teacher was like, yes, but isn't it great when you agree on things in a marriage? And then they were saying like, oh, one bit of advice that one of the kids had heard was that you should always laugh at your spouse's jokes, because that's what will keep the relationship going for a long time, even if they're bad jokes. And I was like, valid. I went into a lesson on equality, one on genetics, we went to a maths lesson. It was so interesting, just like eavesdropping on things from an adult perspective now and being like, oh yeah, Bunsen burners. Anyone remember those? It was also really interesting like hearing how he set up the school. Like he has a head of culture, a culture lead, and then he also has a head of character, like somebody who's like part of their job just making sure the students are developing their character outside of lessons. That's quite sweet, and they get to do loads of extracurricular activities and stuff. The session that I led with the kids went really well. It was a small group, and they were picked like for various different reasons, but some of them were picked because they were the kids that had checked the most books out of the library. So they were already my people, but they were so nice. And we did this. Actually, let me show you my little presentation. I actually kind of realised through the process of doing this that BookTube and like YouTube stuff in general is quite cross-curricular. Like it covers like media literacy and like business building and copywriting and like I don't know. Anyway, I talked a little bit about my channel, and I asked people like why they watch the content that they watch, and try to like make them consider like what are they coming to content on the internet for. I did this thing where I pitched them 3 different books. So I pitched Emma like really boringly, then I pitched Wicked kind of like don't know, and then I pitched Bandit Queens like I had no idea this book was gonna be like this, like let me tell you the premise, this book changed my life kind of thing, and then got them to vote on which book they would like read. And I was like, well, psych, all of these books are my favourite books, but you couldn't tell because like I was pitching them wrong. So then I got them to, they'd all brought in their favourite book. I'd like prepared before, so they all brought in their favourite book, and I got them to pitch their book to the group. And then we'd give people feedback or be like, does anybody want to ask any follow-up questions before they decide whether they want to read the book or not? And then we'd do like a vote to say like whether we'd read the book or not, and like talk about how they sold it. I also did like examples of hooks, so like how you might sell a book to somebody or tell somebody about a book in a way they might be interested. I also talked about storytelling and like the rule of thirds and the way I design my thumbnails, and like how I pair my titles with thumbnails and how they can both tell a story together that's like not the story from either one, like anyway. And then I'm not going to give you the whole talk. And then like the difference between these 2 thumbnails and like why one was successful and one wasn't, even though I'm essentially making the same video. And then I talked about how I monetize the channel and how I run the business. And we did like an exercise where they could design their own channel and like what they'd call it and what their upload schedule would be like, and like what videos they'd really like to make on it, and who the audience was and what the branding was. And anyway, I had a lot of fun and they were all really sweet. It was so funny because there was a moment where I was describing Emma, and this is when I was pitching it as a good book, like afterwards as an example, and I was saying like everybody thinks like that they want a protagonist that is really nice and sweet and clever, but what I like about Emma is that she's kind of bitchy. And then everyone was like, oh, and I was like, oh yeah, I said the word bitch. Teachers aren't supposed to say that. And And also it was funny because I was going to give them vouchers that Zigzag gave me so that people can like download my audiobook, like kind of gift vouchers for free. And I was going to give these to the kids, and then Mr. Coles, George, made the point that maybe the parents might have some complaints if the kids are given books, free books with the word arse in the title. And I was like, yeah, I forgot that actually a lot of what I make on the internet and what I write down in the books that I publish probably aren't age appropriate. They have like a lot of swearing in them, and these kids are all like year 8s. Anyway, that was like a lesson in being like, oh yeah, I live a very like adult life. I lingered in the back of one of George's staff room meetings, and he was talking a lot about chips. He's very passionate about getting chips into the school, especially like serving them on a Friday to combat like low attendance. So being like, chips on a Friday, come in, it's gonna be great, but only serve them on a Friday. And then also like thinking about how they can stop, like when they're trying to control a large group of kids for lineups and stuff like that, how they can stop shouting, because even when they're doing it in a way that's fine, it makes teachers seem like they're not as in control as they are. And also just like the effect on the kids of hearing shouting all the time, even if it's not like actually aggressive shouting in sentiment, it feels aggressive even when it's not. So he's had megaphones and stuff, but he was trialing out getting them little like steps microphones so they can still have like a calm, soothing voice, but like it is loud enough so that everybody hears. And George trained as an actor in a drama school, so he talked a lot about like projection over shouting and like the difference between the two. So I was very proud of him, and I was like, this is actually a really great way to run a school. It's weird when our generation of people are like actually kind of running things, and I also just think like running them in a way that has been informed by the past 30 years of like conversation and culture change. So that was really heartening. And then in the evening we went for pizza at Pizza Pilgrims, and I tried the vegan pizza, and it was actually very decent. I got the vegan version of like the spicy sausage one, and then we went to go see Carrie Hope Fletcher in Calamity Jane, which is one of my favourite musicals. Like growing up, is a very like very incredibly twee Western musical, and the original film has like a lot of problematic parts in it that thankfully they took out for the stage show, and so that was really nice to see as well. And it just felt like a bit of a hug kind of show, you know. I was saying it almost felt a little bit like panto in the best way, almost like it's set in the desert, but like I was like, it has a Christmas vibe to it, you know what I mean? Anyway, it was brilliant. The cast were phenomenal, the set was great. Carrie Hope Fletcher, like, I think spiritually cartwheeled through this part. She was like really, really brilliant. Everyone got a standing ovation. Good night all around. Back in the present time, I have been doing some emails. Sometimes this is what I look like when I'm just reading emails rather than replying to them. I look glum and like I'm not doing anything, but I promise I'm doing things. And I had a call with my accountant, Pew.
Hello, Lena. Let's talk about tax.
Yeah, that's perfect. Woo! And I find finances incredibly scary and hard, but I have to do them as a business owner and as an employer. And I am so thankful to have Pew on my side. She's absolutely brilliant. She's not only like really intelligent and so much better than the accountants I've worked with or interviewed before, who are just essentially like finance bros who don't give you the time of day and often like miss things and aren't really on it. She's like so on it, but can also, she remembers what it's like to not know. She can like actually explain it to me in a way that I understand. Just feeling #grateful for a good accountant at the moment. And we also had a great conversation about Operation Mincemeat, nuclear bunkers and the existence of them and how there's still quite a lot in Britain. And she was saying how like her like dipping into history and like what has come before and what's been overcome has been giving her a bit of like a boost or hope at the moment. And she was saying like, she said a really nice line that I wrote down. She said, everything's feeling really uncertain right now, but what she likes about history is that however many times she revisits it, the ending never changes. And there's something like comforting about knowing that people have resolved stuff in the past. And I'm like, it's not the kind of wisdom I was expecting from my finance call about my end of year taxes, but that's the mark of a great accountant. They also think about what's going on in the world. Anyway, can't tell whether I'm giving more Steve Jobs or Chelsea Fagan right now, but feeling kind of Friday businessy, and I'm going to do a little bit more work, and then I think it's time for me and Craig to go on a little mental health walk, and then this evening I have to go and give blood. That's fine. I was going to say that's scary. It's not scary, I'm used to giving blood, but we'll do that too. And giving blood is always a good excuse to have a good hearty dinner. Good morning, I need your help. The occasion is going into Birmingham and going to see Deborah Francis White of the Guilty Feminist podcast do a book talk, and then I'm going for bottomless brunch with some of my old and best school friends, which frankly I feel tricked by because I thought bottomless brunch meant bottomless brunch. But no, apparently it doesn't. It means bottomless alcohol with limited brunch. And I just feel like I've been skedaddled, deceived, betrayed. But it's fine, and I've already paid for it. I've got cider in my ear. Anyway, yesterday I went and gave blood, and that was very pleasant. And you also get like free nostalgic British lunchbox chocolates afterwards, so I had a very nice club bar, a medicinal club bar. But yeah, I try and give blood every 4 months, and it's genuinely very easy. And also what I enjoy is that they text you when they use your blood. They text you and they tell you like which hospital they used it in. My last one in November, they used it at the Royal Berkshire Hospital. Some people can't give blood, that's right, but most people can give blood, and there is like a huge blood shortage in Britain at the moment. So if you want me to answer questions on that in the comments, let me know, but I'll stop boring you about my blood. Anyway, I have really small veins. This looks really painful. The most painful part of this whole process was honestly just taking off that plaster just now. It's not painful at all. And the whole thing takes like an hour, and it's usually somewhere on your door. It's usually like a church hall or something on your doorstep. Yesterday, I've got really tiny veins. I think it's quite unusual. I've got really tiny veins, and they're very deep inside my arm. My body does not want to have its blood taken. So every single time they have to like try a few different angles and different arms to get a vein that will work. And this time they had like a lot of trouble. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't drink enough water, or I don't know. I usually give blood at a different time of day. I don't know. Anyway, this is my first accessory of the outfit. Obviously I'm wearing the dress that I made earlier this week. Very excited about that. I've got matching lilac glasses on, lilac tights, and I'm wondering which earrings to wear. Right, this is the first ones. Okay, take it in. Second ones, interesting. Also an option. Or just like hoops. Just go back to my normal hoop. No, this is looking festive. I quite like this, I think, because it's a birthday. It's my friend Kelly's birthday. We're all turning 35 this year. It's fine. Don't be ageist against yourself. But yeah, last night we watched the rest of Adolescence. And it was heavy. It was more arty than I was expecting, and you don't really get any answers, but it was really brilliantly done, and I can't believe how good the acting was. So I'm really glad we watched that, but I'm also glad that I watched it with Craig, because I'm quite a scaredy cat, and it was quite upsetting. The other thing I'm really excited about doing in Birmingham is I have all of these Lush empties that I've been collecting. Snow Fairy, Sleepy, don't know what that was. Huge bottle of toner, back from when I thought toner scientifically worked. I don't think it does. It feels nice though. Sea salt spray for your hair, a little bottle of eyeliner, a solid perfume. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11. That doesn't feel very even. Damn it. Anyway, you either get money off, I think, or to swap it for a face mask, which again, I don't know if I believe in I don't know if they're... I don't know if they work, so I might just take the money and get some moisturiser or something. But yeah, if you didn't know, you can go to like any Lush shop and return your empties, and obviously because they're using the same packets consistently for years and years, they don't even need to like melt these down. They can literally just like, is that true? Clean them and recycle them and use them again, or do they actually melt them down? But it's better because it's like their material, so it's like they know what's in it, so it's easier to recycle. Anyway, I don't know. If I find the answer, I'll put it on the screen. But either way, it's good to return things to the people that made them, because then they can recycle them in their own way, hopefully. It's hard to be a jaded environmentalist in this world, but I'm doing my part. Right. Are we ready to go to Birmingham? I've got a new audiobook. I'm listening to Private Revolutions, Coming of Age in New China, which apparently the publishers have not bothered to format the book cover for audio, but that's fine. We're all just trying our best in this world, aren't we? This is a book that has been shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction, and so I would like to read it. Let's go. is the end of a long week of vlogging, something I was very scared to do. So let's unpack why I was scared of it in the first place, and if I am still scared of it. Firstly, just running you through what you've missed. Yesterday was a great success. I got some lovely sleepy cream with a discount in exchange for my Lush pots. The Deborah Frances White event was brilliant, and the book that she was talking about sounds really, really important and something that I really want to read. I'll leave the links below if you want to have a little nosy at that. She also brought along some cake because she had some extra cake from her book launch, so everybody got some red velvet cake, which was really sweet. Had a nice bottomless sort of brunch, which indeed had much more alcohol served than food, but what can you do? It was still delicious to catch up with friends. Today, I'll be honest, in the interest of transparency, I had an awful night's sleep. And I woke up at 5 a.m. and I just couldn't get back to sleep. And I was one of those things where you're lying there where you're like, I could sleep, but what about Elon Musk? And I must send that email back to that person. And what if I book a trip to this place? And should I be saving more in this kind of ISA or this kind of ISA? And do you think that if I sew this dress, it just wouldn't end? And I got quite anxious because I couldn't get back to sleep. So then I got up and I had some breakfast and I tried to stay awake and then I couldn't. And then I got really upset and then I burst into tears because I was so tired because I've had like bad night's sleep for a few nights this week, I think. And then I was like, Craig, why am I getting so upset? Why am I so tired? This is pathetic. And then Craig pointed out that it's actually been daylight savings and I hadn't woken up at 5 a.m. I had actually woken up at 4 a.m. So no wonder I was tired. Anyway, managed to have a little nap in the day and I felt a lot better. Me and Craig fixed our garden fence because just not living in London things, the pigeons here are not scraggy little fighters. They're actually quite large, almost pheasant-like creatures, like very fat pigeons. Sorry, but they are just a fat shame, the pigeons, but they carry a lot of physical gravitas and sometimes they land on our fence and it literally breaks our fence. So we had to fix our fence today and I tied up some of our creeping plants that I'm hoping to grow across our little pagoda thing. And then we cooked some cheese and beans on toast with vegan sausages. Craig had normal cheese and I had my Kinda Co cheese. The best vegan cheese I've ever tasted. We watched a very good video essay about adolescence that I will link below. And then I've just been here thinking about life. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why I am sometimes hesitant or have been hesitant in the past to just literally vlog my life occasionally. Not all the time, but like occasionally. I think one is really like a safety issue in that I like to spend a lot of time in the place that I live. And the place that I live, I don't want to talk about where I live because I'm a woman on the internet and, you know, after watching Adolescence as well, nice little reminder. And the same, I think I felt this way since Joe Cox died, to be honest. I feel like there are like certain ways that I feel really safe on the internet, but I know that there are points where people who have very ill intentions can find people. And I definitely had that wake up call when I released a video during the pandemic that I did a collaboration with the NHS debunking some of the misinformation about the COVID vaccine, and that exposed me to a whole new group of people who have incredibly interesting takes on women and safety. So again, like most of the time I feel quite safe online, but I'm very aware that at any moment, any information I put on the internet can fall into the wrong hands. So I feel like for that reason, I don't like vlogging that much outside of my house. But I've been realising from watching people like Lucy Jane Wood, I love her daily vlogs, the same with like Melanie Murphy, they're very good at vlogging their lives without actually showing that part where the identifiable things that could lead people to them in a negative way. So that's been something that I've been like thinking about and being like, can I even make this interesting without filming? Because I would love to shout about the local businesses that are near me and show some of the places that I go very regularly because they're lovely and I love where I live, but I do have to think about safety. So that's like one of the things that has always scared me about daily vlogging, because I'm like, oh no, what if I show something in the background that gives something away? I don't know, it comes with a layer of anxiety, I think, on that level. Another thing is just like about performing my life in general. Like I've spoke about this when I talked about not giving you a house tour and like when I bought my house, about how I don't want to feel like my home is a set that I perform against all the time. But I don't think I felt like that this week. I think that's something that I think it's something it's good to be conscious of, and I don't have to vlog I wasn't vlogging when I was crying because I hadn't got enough sleep. There are like points where you choose what you show. And then the third thing I was scared about was literally just boring people. I guess because I couldn't take you out to all the interesting places that I go when I'm having a week where I'm just in the local area and I'm not doing stuff like I did this week, which is much more things outside of like my local vicinity. But just generally like my life, I was a bit like, a lot of my life is quite boring. And also it invites a certain level, I hope it doesn't, but it like by just the dint of showing your life online invites a certain level of opinion about the micro decisions you make that I don't necessarily love. I'm always open for like discussions and people's thoughts about things, but there are like certain kinds of people that don't know how to behave properly on the internet. So that's something that I'm like, am I resilient enough to do it for like the pros and like take the cons, which would be that? Because I think it's one thing to be critiqued for a video essay that somebody might not think is very well structured, or critiqued on like your appearance, which is something I'm very used to and doesn't bother me at all. It's something I've been on the internet for like 15 years, like it doesn't bother me. But when you're critiqued about your micro decisions in your life, like what kind of cheese you eat or what kind of charger you buy, like I do worry about whether that would have like a psychological effect on me. But then again, I think I've also been building up a lot of resilience to that. And yeah, anyway, that was something that I was worried about this week, and we'll see if it bothers me. But the pros, this is why I was thinking I'd like to try this and see if I enjoy doing it. One is that I always want to create what I consume. And at the moment, I'm enjoying consuming that kind of content. Not that it doesn't have thoughtful moments in it and it doesn't have reflections and stuff, but because the way the world is right now, I love watching a serious video essay, or when somebody's making a really good like point or talking about the climate crisis. But there is also like a real big place in my life for more ambient content where I can just watch something low stakes that's real and not designed to keep my attention all the time, like cuts everywhere. And long form content as well. I feel like when I'm trying not to be addicted to this, I really appreciate YouTube and that longer form content where I can just make one choice and then sit there for 20 minutes, half an hour, and lavish in that choice, like exist within somebody else's brain for a little bit. That really helps me. So of course, when I experience something helpful, I'm part of my brain is like, can I make something like that? That would be cool because I find that helpful. Can I be useful? The second is that like through processes like this, I'm able to bring up topics like, I don't know, giving blood, or like where I'm buying certain products from that are, I think, more ethical, or like at least from small businesses, like being able to bring those things up naturally without having to think of like a very clickable title or something that's going to grab people's attention. So being able to weave in some other things that I want to talk about without having to have enough to say about it that would warrant a half an hour video essay or something. That appeals to me as well, and being able to casually talk about what I'm thinking about when it comes to how my personal life relates to politics or the climate, or inwardly trying to think a little bit more about who I am. That interests me as well. Like any different ways that I can communicate with people about the things that I care about is good, and I like to experiment with that. And then thirdly, like I've been imperfectly keeping a line every day diary. You'd write one line every day and it's like a 5-year diary. I've been doing that and it's made me realise like how much of my life I just forget if I don't write it down. Like, what did I do last week on Wednesday? I don't know. I know that I had a good day, but I don't know why it was a good day or what I did. And there is something kind of appealing about being able to capture this moment in my life. And especially as somebody who is in their mid-30s now and doesn't have children and doesn't intend to have children, I would have loved to have something like this just to show, to add to the record of women who are doing something else, and like being able to picture that kind of life for myself in my 30s. So from that recording perspective, from a selfish, like, I just want to record this for myself so I remember what I did and where I went and what it looked like, there's also like an element of like, this is something that I would also have found useful before. And that's what a lot of my channel has been. In fact, that's why I started my channel, because I was making like haul videos of university texts that I was reading, because I was somebody who kind of accidentally went to university to study English and didn't feel very well read at all, had barely read any classics, felt very out of my depth, and had nobody to like really ask like what to expect on an English course. So then when I got into the English course, the first thing I did was like start making videos about the books that I was reading and what I felt about them and what to expect. And And when I made my 20s toolkit, that was also just about like, these are the tips for getting through your 20s that I wish I had had when I was 19, 20, 21. So again, there's that to think about as well. Anyway, all that to say is that I did find the idea of this week quite scary, but in practice, I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed being able to share the moments that I wanted to, keep to myself the moments that I didn't. And I would love to hear whether you enjoyed it too, and if I should do it again. I also have no idea how long this is going to take Craig to edit. Craig is my partner, but also my editor, so RIP to him. This is probably quite a lot of footage, so there's that to take into account as well. But I guess there's like a clip that comes to mind for me, which is from a film called The Circle, which is not the best film, but it's got Emma Watson in it, and it's about her working at somewhere that's very like Meta, and she is part of an experimental program where she goes fully transparent and she films she like live streams the whole of her life. And that's something that I fear, but then at the same time I really admire a lot of like literary people who have recorded parts of their life and talk about it and like, you know, document it in a way where they're being thoughtful about it and editing it as they go. So it's very, I don't know. Basically, I find the tension between toxic transparency and youthful authenticity. There's something here in the middle between these two hands that I want to reach, and I'm not sure where I am on that scale when it comes to me and what I make. I must go, because that is the dulcet tones of Craig willingly playing Red Wine Supernova to himself. We have a Chapel Roan convert in the house. I can hear it. Thank you so much for watching. This video was made possible by the Gumption Club, who tip me per video to make sure these videos keep happening. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you enjoy people vlogging their life, if you enjoyed this video, if I should do it again, and any creators that you can recommend who aren't denying what's going on and like not shying away from that, but also creating the kind of content that feels less sensationalized and useful to you when it comes to not switching off, but switching on in a more sustainable long-term way rather than like a sensationalist, like headline, disaster, bad news, headline vibe. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Am I making any sense? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for keeping me company this week. Frog Smug out.